Sveiki sugrįžę į Delfi TV studiją. Šiandien mes esame EBIT konferencijoje, kur renkasi verslo politikos lyderiai ir turime vieną iš jų šalia, buvusi Graikijos ministrą pirmininką George Papandreou, kuris vadovavo Graikijos ministrų kabinetui krizės metais. So, hello again.
Hello.
You talked today about remembering crisis in Greece and lessons to learn from it. So I want just to ask, how is this now in Greece? Because officially crisis was over like last year, it was officially announced, but like in reality, how do people feel now? Is it over? You back to normal?
You know, a crisis sometimes is an opportunity to make big changes. So I will be critical in saying that we in Europe, but also in Greece, did not use the crisis as productively, as creatively as we could. Yes, we have cut the budget deficit, which was one of the basic issues. So we are no longer producing more debt. We are not producing more deficits. We have a surplus now in our budget. But that came at a very high cost, with very, very high taxes and many cuts. But it also we did not look at some of the deeper problems, because one of the reasons we had a high deficit was very much bigger bureaucracy, clientelism, corruption. So we really needed to fight that more. I did some of that when I was Prime Minister. I, for example, brought in transparency to all expenditures, so everybody knows where money is going. Electronic prescriptions in medicine, because there was a lot of corruption in medicine. Doctors getting money to overprescribe from the big pharmaceutical companies. We saved 3 billion a year, 3 billion euros a year from that. That's as much as we make in property taxes. But I think we could have done more. So even though we are out of the crisis officially, there is still much I think we need to do to make Greece more productive, more competitive, more creative, and we have great potential. Greece has great possibilities from our renewable energy, our sun, our winds, our geothermal energy, the tourist industry, health and education can be very important for the economy. As in Lithuania, we have maybe about 500,000 young Greeks who left during the crisis and are working somewhere else, Germany, UK or France, maybe outside Europe. And that is a drain in our economy and in our future, because this makes Greece much more conservative, fearful, and not as innovative as we would like.
I've seen your speech on the TED Talks. It was about like in 2013, I think. And when you said that Greece was only a symptom and it could happen anywhere in Europe. So do you still think now, looking from nowadays perspective?
Yes. You see, Greece, of course, had our problems, and we were responsible for a big deficit and so on. That's what when I took over, I saw the deficit was not 3% as it should be during the Maastricht criteria, but 16%, so huge. But also this was a European crisis. It was actually a global crisis too, because we were then just after Lehman Brothers and the crash in the Wall Street market. So what we needed to see is the concentration of power in the financial system, the strength of the markets, and in Europe we could actually have dealt with that if we worked together. A stronger, united Europe in fighting the fears of the markets would be more effective. Rather than that, we got into this sort of stereotyping. Oh, the Greeks are lazy, the Greeks are not doing good. It's not true. The Greeks work more hours, according to OECD, than any other European. But there were other problems. So we got into this easy way of blaming somebody else rather than looking at our own problems in Europe. When we actually did take united action, when Draghi said, Mario Draghi, head of ECB, said, we will do whatever it takes, even buy bonds in the market to lower the costs, then the markets were tamed. The markets and the crisis was not over, but it was slowed down. So what I think one of the conclusions is, yes, we have problems, there are big issues around the world, but if we work together and we make Europe stronger, we can be more effective. So whether it's the market panic, speculation, whether it is migration and refugee problems, whether it is climate change, working together and strengthening Europe makes us more effective. Whether it is the big internet giants following all our private lives, we have now GDPR. So the idea that we go back to our country like Brexit, we go and hide from these global problems is not going to work. It's I say suicide, and that's what we are seeing in the UK. But also in Europe, we have not understood that the stronger we are, the more effective we are. There is one other thing I said in my talk, of course. We also need to make Europe a project of our people. Not of the elite, not of Brussels, but of our people. So I say, well, why don't we elect a president by our people, rather than having the Spitzenkandidat and in closed rooms decide on who is the head of the commission or head of the council. We need to bring in more participation of our younger generation in our European prospects, in our European future. So there are many ideas I threw out just as to stimulate our creative thinking about how we make Europe more democratic, more a people's project.
And as you speak about giving more power to the people, how it could work? Because especially now when the rise of populism is again, wouldn't we open Pandora's box if we give more people power and we don't educate them properly?
Well, actually populism does not give power to the people. Populism gives power to some so-called strong man, usually man. They're not strong. These men are not strong. Being strong is making difficult decisions and not trying to criticize somebody else, not trying to say, oh, the migrants are to blame, oh, refugees are to blame. They're not to blame. Inequality is to blame. Concentration of power is to blame. Our division in our society is maybe because of part is globalized, part is not globalized. So populism, these populists are not giving power to the people. They are saying, give power to me, and I will solve your problems. I have the solution. I have the magic wand. No, we don't want saviors. We want to really give power to the people. But that is not simply an election. That's not simply representative democracy. It is everyday participation. Now we have the means too. We could actually have an internet agora, an internet where every day we deliberate on problems. We ask people what they feel, how they can maybe give ideas and solutions, crowdsourcing, collective wisdom. We have now the tools to do this. So I would say we need to deepen democracy, not just throw the problem at the people, but deepen democracy and bring in participation. And also have people take on responsibility for the change. Because populism is, don't worry, you sit back in your home, you just vote for me, you shout, you make noise, I will do it. No. Real democracy means everybody participates. In ancient Greece, this was the concept of democracy. You have the right, but you also have the responsibility. And actually, the word idiot comes from ancient Greece, and it meant somebody who was not involved in the public affairs, who was secluded, who was selfish. So let's not be idiots. Let's participate. Let's take back power, not by going back into our little house, but by reclaiming our right to really have a voice.
Is it happening now in Greece, bigger participation of society, or only it's your opinion, you think it should work so?
Well, when I was Prime Minister, I tried to do this. For example, I had what we called a wiki laws. So all the laws, before they went to Parliament, would go a public deliberation. People on the website could give their views. Then they would come to the cabinet. They would discuss the law. We would discuss all the ideas from our citizens. Then we would approve and take it to the Parliament. And I think we can develop this much more. But of course, when we had the crisis and we had to borrow from our neighbors in the European Union, they put strict rules. So then they started controlling what we were doing. So that really took away the sense that we owned this project. It took away the sense of participation. And that was a problem of the crisis. So people became cynical and feeling powerless. So we need to bring this back in Greece, in every of our society, to show that, we don't need to find a savior. We can actually build up our own societies, our own community. In the past, it might have been easy to say, we want our independence, we're fighting against occupation or authoritarian rule. Now there are other forms of control, even in the internet, where everybody, these big giants of companies follow all our movements. We need to take back control. We need to own our data. We need to not allow concentrated power to make decisions so far away from us. And this, I think, is the challenge. It's not easy. There's no simple solution, but that's where we have to go. That's the compass we should have.
As you have experience with crisis, how do you see Europe now? Do you see some warning signs it could repeat again?
The warning sign is that we have to believe in Europe. Not as it is now, but as a concept. Europe has to change. I'm not saying Europe is perfect. The contrary, Europe has a lot of problems. But the idea that if we cooperate, we have the strength to actually affect global change, humanize globalization and global capitalism. We can be a power that will be on equal terms with the US, with China. We can bring China in and integrate through the Belt and Road project rather than being fearful. So the warning signs are through this populace saying, no, we just go back to our little country. Let's close the borders of Lithuania, of Hungary, of Greece, and everything will be fine. No, we will not solve problems that way. We are in a new frontier, so we should not stop and build walls. We have to see how in this new frontier we are creative and how we use all our potential, our wisdom, our collective wisdom. So the warning signs are there. If Europe splinters, we will not be powerful. Europe will die out. If we come together and change Europe for the better and make it a citizens' project, yes, then we can be successful.
Okay, so thank you, that was all, and thank you for our interesting conversation, and see you later. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Iki greitų kitų susitikimų, greit grįšime su kitais pašnekovais.